Welcome to Aspire to Retire. I'm your host, Cheryl Nelson. I'm here with Ralph and Tim Short, along with Scott Earhart, all from Welcome Home Financial Partners. As always, great to see you guys.
Great being here.
Look at you sporting that color today.
Okay.
I like it.
All right, good.
He said good, thank you. Well, today we will help you design a retirement income strategy tailored to your unique needs and goals. Now, today our focus is on innovative techniques and practical advice for generating a reliable and sustainable income stream in retirement. So, how do you transform your retirement savings into a lasting legacy, ensuring comfort and security in your golden years? How do you maximize your retirement income and enjoy a prosperous, worry-free retirement? We're going to answer all of that today. So our first question, though, we're going to start with, what are the primary sources of retirement income for most retirees?
Well, for the majority of Americans, you're going to be looking at just a few different silos of primary sources of income. One's going to be Social Security. Most Americans are going to have Social Security when they achieve 62 or older. Then we're going to have retirement accounts. So we're going to be looking at ERISA plans, things that employers provided, and then personal savings beyond that are going to be our primary sources of income in retirement.
All right. ERISA is what?
Employer-sponsored plans, so 401ks, 403bs, 457s. Whatever plan is being offered by your employer is going to fall under the ERISA banner.
Okay, good to know. When you guys throw out these acronyms, I got to make sure I know what you're talking about here. Now, how has the concept of retirement income changed over the last few decades? What changes have you guys seen?
I think I need to answer that question since I've had more decades than these people have.
Because you call yourself a dinosaur.
I'm a dinosaur. So back in the 50s, probably the only retirement programs you had if you worked with a large enough company that had a pension. And then things continued on that way until probably the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. Then you started having 401ks go into effect. You started having IRAs, but until then, pensions and savings were the only things that you really had, along with Social Security. But the biggest thing for most people these days, it's so much different because now you don't have a lot of pensions out there. Now you've got to rely on what you've done, and you've got to take responsibility for your retirement and cannot blame anybody else, in my opinion, for not doing the proper job. Because you, like Scott says, you have Social Security, you might have a pension if you're lucky, if you work a big enough company, but then you have the IRAs, your savings accounts, your 401ks, things like that. So you have to determine how much your retirement is going to look like.
Wow. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's hard to realize that a lot of these, like Roth IRA, they're not that old when you look back in time. So no wonder so many people are confused about what to do, and they need somebody to hold their hand, right?
Yeah, and nobody really knows or understands those things because we're not taught that either in school or in life, because reading, writing, and arithmetic is one thing, but now we're talking about retirement planning, tax codes, what happens.
Oh my gosh.
You know, because that changes routinely with the government, because they'll change tax laws, they'll change all the retirement rules and regulations. I mean, we just had 2 changes in the last 3 years with retirement plans. Yeah.
Really? So
Yeah.
how are you supposed to stay up to date on all of this unless you have a financial advisor, right?
Very, very good point.
Yeah, okay. So why is planning for retirement income crucial, and when should one start?
Well, it's just like Ralph's talking about, is you have to be self-reliant at
Yeah.
this point. So if you don't have a pension, which most Americans aren't going to have it anymore, you'll have Social Security, which is still kind of up in the air. So you've got to make sure that you've saved enough money to generate the income coming from those assets. And a lot of people, when they're working, they're not concerned about the income until they get there. Once they receive their last paycheck from their employer, then that's when they get nervous. That's when they want to reach out. You got to do it sooner rather than later. The earlier you do it, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, good advice there. Now, Social Security, we all talk about it. Some people worry, oh no, is it going to go away? What age should I take it? Does it impact the monthly payout? So many questions surrounding Social Security.
Well, Social Security is a hot topic with the national media always talking about it, with what we see, going into an election year, always being talked about. So for the core question, at what age should you require or should you activate Social Security? There is no magical answer there. It's all based on the individual, on when you want to retire, how you want to retire, and your needs, your income needs. So the best advice I can give there is to sit down with a financial professional, understand what your numbers look like and when it would be best for you as the individual to claim that Social Security. Now, the earlier you claim it, the less you're going to get. The longer you wait, the more you get. There is no magic time.
But I would also say things will change. I mean, a lot of people will say, oh, Social Security is not going to be here in 2 to 3 years. We don't know that. The only thing I can guarantee you, it's probably going to change between now and the time that you're going to need it. And that's one thing that you have to be aware of.
Right. And when somebody wants to estimate their Social Security benefits, how do you do that? How do you know how much you're going to get per year once you do tap into it?
So they have a calculator on Social Security's website
Okay.
that can help with that. We can also help with that as well. But they should be receiving Social Security statements annually to show what their progress is, if you will. So Social Security is one of those things, like Scott says, it's not very clear cut, right? It's going to be based off your situation, when you need to do it, when it makes sense financially to do it, and you got to look at the longevity at this point too.
Is it based off of how much you earn every year? Is that how it's determined?
That'll be part of the calculations. Because the more money that you make, probably the more that you're going to get later down the road, unless they start capping it out.
Right,
So
right. And does your spouse's income play into what you get or no?
Well, it could if you take a spousal benefit. So there's a lot of different strategies and some strategies that they've taken away. So you've got to be up to date on that, which is why you need to work with a professional.
Absolutely, because it's impossible to stay up to date on everything. Gosh, there's so
But
many changes.
That's part of being a fiduciary. You've got to be able to take care of the client's best interest.
And that's the definition of fiduciary right
Correct.
there. So you're not just in it for yourself.
Correct.
Okay. What is the difference between a defined benefit and defined contribution pension plans? Ooh.
Well, the difference is when we define the benefit, we know exactly what we're going to get out of it. That is a pension plan like many Americans had for years and years, and it's dwindling now. But you know, you work for a company for 20 years, you retire, you get X amount of dollars every month, just like you were still on the payroll. Now, a defined contribution plan, that's the more modern concept for retirement planning inside the employer. That's going to be a 401k or your 403b. You can define what you're putting into it, but you can't define what you're going to get out of it because you don't know how performance is going to be. So that's the main difference between the two, or the actual difference between the two.
All right, good to know. Well, we've got to take a commercial break, but before we do, Tim, you have a special offer for us.
Yes, we do, Cheryl. So the first 10 callers who've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, pick up the phone, give us a call, 833-897-4845. We'd love to invite you into the office where we'll take that time to develop your very own retirement income plan. And Cheryl, the best part is we'll do it on a complimentary basis.
All right, so we're going to open up those phone lines. If you'd like some personal advice about retirement planning and more, call that number or take your cell phone and scan that QR code on the bottom of your screen to set up an appointment. Coming up next, we will discuss annuities, stocks, bonds, and more. Stay with us.
Imagine the future you've been wanting all along. A world where your retirement income is covered and you don't have to worry. Your financial assets are protected, and you have an experienced team fighting every day to grow your assets. Imagine a company creating tax strategies and legacy plans to make sure your loved ones are protected no matter what happens. At Welcome Home Financial Partners, we're an experienced financial team with the right professional licenses and an unbreakable commitment to making our clients feel like family. Here you'll find determined, friendly faces in a world filled with obstacles and problems. We help plan your retirement income to ensure you won't run out of money in retirement. We build in protection to make sure your assets are covered on all sides. We focus on growing your wealth to combat inflation and rising cost of living. And we design tax strategies to help you avoid paying back what you shouldn't while protecting the people you love. Our team never stops fighting for you. With an unparalleled work ethic, we work hard because we know your future depends on it. We're proud to help you choose the life you want to live in retirement. Welcome to your financial future. We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to Aspire to Retire. Having a great show today. We've asked our viewers to call in. So guys, what can our viewers expect when they call in today?
So from today's show, they'll receive a package in the mail, okay, with some homework for them to do, some material we'd like to see, and also a little questionnaire for them. So it's to be prepared for the first appointment. Once they come into the office, we sit down with them, we gather up their information, see what they want to do for retirement, see what their goals or aspirations are, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, and there's got to be some goodies in that box too.
There's always goodies in there.
Okay, guys, you got to call and get that box sent to you to find out what's in it. All right, let's dive into it. We teased this before the break. We mentioned annuities. Oh, that word, I feel like people's heads spin when they hear it because they're trying to understand exactly what an annuity is and how can they provide a steady income stream in retirement. Let's break it down.
Sure. So an annuity is a financial instrument that's designed to give a client either safety or safety and income with potential growth. So it is a product where the way we utilize annuities, at least, we can place a dollar amount in there. It's not going to lose because of stock market losses or anything of that nature. It is going to have an index to it, so it could grow some within it, and it gives clients the ability to take a stream of payments out of it if they should choose to do so. That was a pretty long-winded answer. Fellas, you want to help me out with that?
Well, annuities, people don't really understand how they work, right? So not all annuities are for everybody, and they're all going to work a little bit different, right? So you got to take a look at the fees, you got to take a look at your goals, you got to take a look at how they actually work before you can determine if that's a good strategy for their portfolio. So once again, if it's a 20-year-old coming in, we're not going to look at having protection from the market because they've got a long way to go. But once you get closer to retirement or in retirement, that's a good time to take a look at those vehicles.
When you say fees, what kind of fees are associated with annuities?
Well, it all depends. Usually you'll see the variable ones get more expensive. Some of the annuities just don't have fees. So those are things that we'll break down if we decide that that's a good way to go.
Interesting. See, there's so many things that I think everybody still has to learn about annuities and more because everything is always changing in the financial world, it seems like. So speaking of annuities, what are some common misconceptions about them?
Well, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that you lose control over your account. That's not exactly right. It does have some different issues that you have to understand. The other misconception is that you lose your money when you die. It's all according to how you get things set up. If you annuitize it, it might be, but most people that we talk to, we don't have them annuitize the contract. However, you can have withdrawal plans out of that. The other misconception is they're very expensive. There are annuities that are very expensive that we don't really recommend. However, the things that you need to understand, we'll go over and make sure that you fully understand that and informed about it.
And at what age can you tap into annuities? Can you start getting those payments?
Well, it just depends on, what type of money it really is. Because if it's an IRA, you got to wait till 59 and a half. If it's not an IRA, then you're still going to have some penalties and some issues there too. So you've got to make sure that you do it at the right time. But to kind of piggyback off of what Ralph was discussing about some of the misconceptions, that's the biggest thing that I see, and I'm sure Scott would say the same, is that a lot of people say, okay, well, I put X amount of dollars into this. If I pass away, the company keeps the money. And I think it all goes back to pensions and Social Securities because those are a form of it as well, to where if you passed away and you picked a single life annuity for your pension, it's gone, right? So the way we design them, the way we set them up is to be good for the client and make sure that their hard-earned dollars go somewhere.
Okay.
And the thing that I would say when I explain it to people, that's the old type of annuities that way back when they started to annuitize it, and you would give the money to the insurance company for a promise, and they would give you that money until the day you died, even if it was 150 years old, okay? You made out like a bandit, but if you died the first year,
Yikes.
guess what? If you had a single life annuity, then more than likely you're not going to get any money. You're a
It's not
beneficiary.
like that anymore.
Right.
Okay. All right. So fixed, variable, and indexed annuities, they differ. How?
Well, protection is one of them, right? So a variable annuity is going to go up and down with the market based off what you're actually invested in, what funds are in that variable annuity. When it comes to fixed or fixed indexed, you're going to have protection from the market loss. So those are things, normally when we talk to folks about annuities, it's to have protected growth. If you can ensure that you're not going to have the market loss and you'll make some money when the market's good, that's normally where we decide to go with the fixed index. A fixed annuity is somewhat of a long-term CD, if you will, where they're going to guarantee you X% for a certain amount of time. Sometimes that can be good for the client, sometimes it can't be, but it's all based off your individual situation.
Okay. Now, are there specific insurance products designed to supplement retirement income? People are always wondering about that.
There are absolutely specific products designed to supplement that are provided by insurance company. An annuity is one of them. An annuity is provided by an insurance company. Life insurance can certainly be used to supplement. Takes a little more design with that. You definitely need to be working with an experienced financial professional if you are choosing to go that route to ensure it's set up properly. Ralph has a lot of experience with that, so I'll defer to you, sir.
Well, I would just say for most people, we need to understand, or your financial advisor, fiduciary needs to understand what your end goal is, because you can structure a life insurance policy to either provide the most protection that you want for your beneficiaries, or you could have living benefits that will allow you to stuff as much money into the policy so that when you do retire, you have tax-free income coming back to you. But it has to be based on certain rules and regulations by the good old boys at the IRS.
Oh boy, the good old boys. Yeah. What about other assets like stocks, bonds, even precious metals? How do they factor into retirement income?
Well, a lot of people look at it and they feel like they're well diversified if they have all the vehicles, right? But not all the vehicles are going to be aligned up with your risk tolerance, your time horizon, what you need for your income. So what I say to anybody who's scattered all across the board is that might not be the strategy at this point in time once you hit retirement. So you really got to hone in on how am I going to make the money for my income? What am I going to tap into? And if you have all the money in the market, and if the market plummets, what's going to happen to your income?
Yeah.
Your income's not going to stay the same. So at this point, we don't need to worry about the accumulation quite as much as we need to worry about the income, because now you've got to be self-reliant on yourself in retirement.
Yeah. What's the difference, by the way, between a stock and a bond?
There's a lot of different ways how they're different. So if you purchase a stock from a company, right?
Yes.
So it's going to be invested in that company itself.
Okay.
So you've got some volatility there. There's some issues that you've got there. Bonds are deemed more of a safer aspect, and sometimes it's not always true. So you've got to make sure no matter what you invest your money in that it fits for you. And a lot of people just look at the traditional portfolio style of 60% equities, 40% bonds, and that doesn't always work out to be in your benefit. So there's things you really got to dive into.
See, this is why you guys are here, because you're answering some really good questions here and giving us some great information. Before we go to commercial break, I know you have that special offer for us.
Yes, we do, Cheryl. So the first 10 callers who have saved $250,000 or more for retirement, pick up the phone, give us a call, 833-897-4845. We'd love to sit down with you in the office where we can take a look at what you're currently doing and see if it's aligned with your risk tolerance and when you want to retire. So give us a call, and the best part is it's complimentary.
And by the way, there are no dumb questions. I'm just saying, I just asked about stocks and bonds, the difference between those. So you can ask anything you want. Take advantage of our professionals. Call right now, 833-897-4845, or scan that QR code on the bottom of your screen. Coming up next, we'll feature some of your burning questions.
It was the longest running bull market in history. Everything was looking up. While inverted yield curves pointed to a recession, the market kept going. And then, if you're planning to retire soon, that could spell bad news for your returns. Our team can help you better withstand the bear market. Now more than ever, you need a financial professional to stand with you. Visit our website to learn more about our services. You can call or email our office to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Welcome back to Aspire to Retire. It's our favorite part of the show. Time to feature some of your questions. We're going to start with Quinn from Orange. Quinn says, I am concerned about medical expenses and long-term care. I feel as though I am not prepared for this in my retirement plan. Could you help me with this topic? I think this is a very good question because a lot of people don't have long-term care insurance, and it makes me wonder, should they?
Sure, it is a really good question, and Quinn, you're not alone. We meet a lot of people every week, every day, that are very concerned about long-term care and medical expenses throughout retirement. We could certainly help you get prepared for that. There are a ton of vehicles out there that you, with your retirement plan, can utilize to help you pay for those unforeseen expenses of long-term care and medical expenses, throughout retirement. But what I'd say, Quinn, we can't answer that here on television. We'd need you to sit down because all of these are very personal conversations. We've got to understand your assets. We've got to understand where you're at in life, understand your concerns to help you build that plan.
Yeah, long-term care is not cheap, though. I know that
and
much.
with that, a lot of people are nervous about long-term care insurance because the premium can increase on you throughout the years. So there's different policies that you can use out there, but just thinking that it's expensive, just paying for the insurance, go at it without insurance.
Ugh.
Then you'll know what expensive is.
Exactly. Yeah, no thank you. All right. Tom from Quinton says, how often should one revisit and adjust their retirement income strategy? My advisor calls me once a year. Is that enough?
Well, it depends on what part of life you're in. If we're retired and we're collecting the retirement income, life is going to throw curveballs out at you. So you've got to make sure that you've got open communication with your advisor. To say it's once a quarter, once every 6 months, or it's an annual thing, it's hard to say. So, but when you're in retirement, there needs to be a few set of eyes, and you need to work with a team to make sure as your life changes, so does your retirement income plan.
And what I'd say to Tom for sure is we need to know what that phone call feels like a little bit. If you get a call from your advisor once a year and it's, hey, do you have any more money, Tom? That's not the phone call you want. If it's a phone call, and when we call our clients, it's, hey, Tom, do you have any questions? This is what's happening. This is what we see. What adjustments can we help you make? If it's that kind of phone call, maybe you're getting value. But if it's just, hey, Tom, I still exist, give me more money, that's not a good phone call, and that's not what you need.
You don't want that.
And I think what's more important than the phone call too is we always open our doors, right? So when you're a client, doors always open. If we call you, once a quarter, once every 6 months, once a year, whatever the case may be, asking those questions, but also we're always up for an in-office appointment. And that's where I think we kind of pride ourselves, where we're always available. We're always going to have the doors open. So it's not just a phone call.
And the other thing I would say, there's no certain number that you should be in contact with. If there's something that has happened in your life, those changes, whether your spouse passed away and you need some help, you need to call us. What if you got a large inheritance, you don't know what to do? Those are just things that happen to you in life that you need to have advice for. Pick up the phone, give us a call, or scan the QR code.
Right, and those lucky folks who win the lottery.
That's true. I've
Right?
got several of those.
You have several of those?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I've
I need to
always-
know where
oh.
they're from because I got to start buying tickets from that.
Same. I know, you gotta spill the beans. Where are they
That's
buying
right.
these tickets?
You'd be surprised.
It's his secret.
Yep.
Okay. Carolyn from Atlee says, I am about to retire and thinking about picking up a part-time job. My sister says that I'm crazy to do this and suggests that I retire and do nothing since I've worked so hard for so long. Am I crazy?
I would say no. It depends on what you want to do. Just because everybody else wants to sit back and either play golf or put their feet up on TV and watch TV all the time, that may not be for you. And you got to have a purpose in life. It's just not about the money. It's about whether or not you have purpose, whether you have a mission, and what you want to do in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not always about the finances, right? But you're going to have to spend your time doing something. The worst thing you can do, I make this analogy and people laugh at me when I do it, but think about being a vehicle, right? If you're running up and down the highway all the time, every day, putting 1,000 miles on it a week, and then you put that car in the garage, more than likely that car is going to start breaking down, right? So we're all, machines to a point, so we've got to make sure that we're still focusing in on something like Ralph's talking about. You still have to do something with your time. If you lay around on the sofa and you don't do anything, then there could be a phone call from your child to us saying that, hey, mom or dad passed away.
Ugh,
So you got to make sure you still have drive.
Yeah, you got to stay active too.
I need to make something really clear here.
Uh-oh.
Playing golf 7 days a week is a purpose in retirement. That is a purpose. I felt that jab, Ralph, and it's a purpose.
I knew that was towards Scott.
Purpose.
That's all right. Whatever makes you happy,
That's
right?
exactly right.
Yes. All right, Thomas from Short Pump says, my current advisor does not communicate with me that often, once a year to be exact. I pay her 2% annually to manage my assets, and I feel, though, this is high. Now, if I call and set up an appointment today, could you offer me a second opinion on my current retirement plan?
The answer is yes. And whether you call us or use the QR code, give us a call. We'll sit down with you for a second opinion, give you your options, tell you where you are, what we think you need to do to improve that situation. And it's probably something completely different than what you're used to where you are right now based on what you just got through saying.
Yeah. All right, we'll do one more question. Carlton from Charlottesville says, I feel as though this is a simple question, but what do you guys anticipate tax brackets will do in the future?
Do you have a crystal ball, Scott? Tim?
Let me get it.
I'll
Let
let
me
mine
look. Let me
backstage.
look in the crystal ball.
I do have a crystal ball because here, I can tell you this,
Yeah,
they're going to change.
that's right.
Yeah, and there's things that we already know that are coming up. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, that's going to go away at the end of 25. So right there, some of the favorable taxation that we're getting is now going to go away. But we
Yeah.
don't know the answer as far as, you know, what rates are going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. But your retirement income plan's got to be flexible enough to survive.
What was that act that you mentioned?
The
going
Tax
away?
Cuts and Jobs Act.
What is that?
So there's a lot of things that were put into place where could lower your tax situation. That's going to go away.
It eliminated a few
Oh.
brackets and just simplified a bit, but they were not permanent. So
Yep.
they are expiring.
Interesting. See, there's all these things. That's why we have to have financial advisors, professionals like you folks to talk to. So, that's going to wrap up our show for today. But before we go, Tim, one more time, our special offer.
All right, so the first 10 callers who have saved $250,000 or more for retirement, pick up the phone, give us a call, 833-897-4845. We would love the opportunity again to sit down with you in the office, talk about the subjects that we're talking about now, and also help you with a second opinion in your own retirement roadmap. So give us a call, 833-897-4845.
All right. So thank you again for joining us today on Aspire to Retire. Next time, we will discuss tax strategies and healthcare navigation. Hot topics right there. If you'd like some advice, call us now. Once again, 833-897-4845, and you could be featured on our next episode, or scan that QR code on the bottom of the screen. On behalf of all of us at Aspire to Retire, I'm your host, Cheryl Nelson. Have a great day.